All right. So we are almost at the end. We're going to just have a quick feedback session right now with Matt Valetich and Derek Hoy from the GSQ. Come and stand up here and be in the spotlight as well. And I'm going to hand, you've got that one. Sorry, we just need to find the presentation. Did you stick it on here?
No, there's no presentation here.
No,
there
this
is
is
just a quick slide.
There
you go.
All right, over to you, Matt.
I'm going to be very, very quick. So, what's that, mate?
You should stream in the share it elsewhere, sorry.
Which screen? What do you want me to do?
Go to here.
Just a humble geologist.
Oh.
Come, you're the man.
It's okay online now, is it?
So I can do it. Go back to where you had before, sorry.
Oh, God. My brain hurts.
Luckily, there's no embarrassing notes or anything on it. Thank you for having me, Edmund.
Oh, you know what I'm gonna. Okay, so what's happening now? Display settings. Duplicate budget. There we go.
Yeah. All right. So we'll go real quick. This is a project that's in its infancy, and I've been having a bit of a look at it in lieu of Derek and Joe really getting stuck into this. And what this really needs is it needs both input in terms of ideas and also samples from as many industry partners as we can. So just as we're calling it regional prospectivity, and I've just chucked a map on to sort of give you an indication of some of the things we're thinking about. So this is obviously the Mount Isa Inlier. I've got the sort of the general outcropped mapped areas, so the east, central, and west. These contours are the 200 and 400 metre contour that's modelling the depth below basement, depth below cover, where the basement outcrops. And then I've also chucked on a couple of modelled basement lithology. So what the Proterozoic rock is at the basement interface. So what we'd like to do is we'd like to treat this as a project that starts to try and constrain areas that are undercover to assist exploration. So this isn't targeting. This is basically building an understanding of the geology in an area undercover. So it's a case study of what techniques we might use. It's hoping to answer a few questions with regards to interpretations, for example, of what might be happening in terms of stratigraphy undercover. And we'd like to use this to establish some sort of foundation data sets of geological observations and actual analyses that maybe they're used as a comparison when people are exploring in these areas. So I'll just quickly jump straight through to this is just a complete example of some places where we might focus, some things we might do to sort of get the ball rolling in the way to let you know how we're thinking about it. So I've chucked two focus areas on here, and this sort of demonstrates the scale of which we might address these problems and the steps which we might take to do it. So we've got focus area 1, stepping away from Ernest Henry. So these projects that we're doing in GSQ that focus on ore deposits can serve as a great comparison when we step away, deliberately away from any known exploration and look for things like, what does regional alteration look like? Can we see it? Is it pervasive? Can we date it? Things like that. And we need samples under these covers. So if people have drilled here, they haven't hit anything, it's not particularly of interest, we would like that sort of material. We'd like your questions that you have for these regions when you've explored undercover and encountered difficulty. Another example is down south. heading further south of Cannington. These are highly metamorphosed rocks where we're using sort of extrapolations of stratigraphy from further up in lower metamorphic grades that are closer to the surface. We'd like to be able to constrain maybe some of that via lithogeochemistry and dating to help constrain what people are interpreting when they're down there. And the reason why I wanted to shout out here is because I knew that there'd be a lot of chat of this nature where people have actually worked in these areas and done exactly these things. But as GSQ, we have the opportunity to bring together multiple data sets and multiple people's interpretations to make this a much more sort of inclusive study. The way I'm sort of thinking about it, and I've talked to Derek about this, is that these things are not in a conventional sense, but these could be like map sheets or map blocks in the sense that we would address an area, we would constrain it geologically, and then we'd step out from there and continue to do so, and they'd serve as these sort of base data sets with which people could then interpret what they're seeing in the one drill hole that they can afford under that much cover. So that's the kind of idea. It's not something that we need to have a Q&A about now because we're short of time, but I encourage you to, as I said, Derek with his structural experience will be sort of taking the lead on this in time, and Joe Tang is our geochemist. Hey Joe. And I'll be lending as much support as I can to it as well. And what we'd really like to see is you guys just give us your stuff. Tell us your questions. If you've got some samples that you don't want anymore, you know, we're completely open to it. So yeah, feel free to get in touch or chat to me at the pub this evening after the meeting, or us, I should say.
Pub is good.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Does anybody have any questions, anything they want to say about that? Ask. Dumbfounded expressions. All the explorers have left, except for Bruce. Headed off to the pub. So right now, we're going to throw open for questions about the open data portal. I'm going to stand in the camera so that people online can see me. Matt, I'm going to hand over to Matt. He's going to do a quick talk through and then we will take questions.
Thank you. I seem to always find myself at the last talk before we end up going to beer. So I'm always the person that sits in between beer and you all. So I apologise for that. I guess what I wanted to do bring up here is the last 6 months now, we've moved to our new Geoscience open data portal. I hope many of you have seen this. So this replaces a lot of our legacy systems. So QDEX data and QDEX reports are the prime examples of what this has replaced. And I guess we're up here to talk to you about it. So I guess we really wanted to see if there's any questions around that, any concerns, anything people want to raise about that. We do have on the line Vance Kelly, who's our principal data manager. So if you do have any questions about the data portal, how to use it, how to find data, if they come up now, that's great. If they come up at the pub later on, that's great. If you want to have a chat tomorrow or you want to call us in the next couple of weeks or whatever, that's fine as well. But again, I don't want to stand between yourself and beer for too long. So if there are any questions or any things that people want to raise, please do. I guess on a simple thing, finding data, you can do a simple region of interest search and just search for data that sits within that region of interest. You can see here I've returned nearly 17,000 data sets in that region I've selected. You can facet by your data type. So if you're only looking for boreholes or reports, magnetic or radiometric data that sits in that area, you can facet down. So now there's 153 magnetic surveys that sit within that area, and you can go in there. The data portal is built on CCAN, so it's all open source. There's APIs to plug into that data, so you can access the data through that. All of that data is hosted on AWS S3, so you can download it from anywhere, hopefully at high speeds. And again, we have APIs that can plug in and access that data. Happy to answer any questions. Happy to wrap it up and have a beer.
No question.
Paul says.
There's chat and questions online.
Well, there are chat and questions online. Okay. Yep. All right.
Okay, I have a question from Emma Beattie online. If errors are found on the portal by industry, is there a specific person we can liaise with?
Please email GSQ open data at dnrme.qld.gov.au, and we can address those errors. If you didn't capture that, if you email anyone you know at GSQ, we can forward it to the appropriate group that deals with that. Anything else you want to add on that, Vance? Or
I know that perfectly covers it, Matt. Email there and it will get triaged to the right person to address it. We're currently actively seeking to correct some of those issues that we've identified ourselves. So please send it through, and that gives us that impetus and make sure that we're aware of anything that's out there. The more eyes, the better.
great.
I have a question on behalf of Trevor Shaw, who's no longer here, that he asked me yesterday, and I couldn't answer. His question was, or more an expression of frustration. He said that his team were trying to upload some annual reports and they were having trouble having the report numbers assigned. There seemed to be something going wrong with that step.
Okay, so that would be through the lodgement portal itself. I haven't heard of any bugs in that situation. When you submit a report, it should reply straight away with a report number for that report that then you can store away. Again, Vance, do you have any?
No, as soon as you click submit, if the report's been accepted, there should be an email to you with the CR number. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there. I haven't heard of anything. But again, if you email one of us individually or the GSQ open data email, then we can look into it further and make sure that's addressed.
I can contact Trevor and get onto him and get him onto open data. That's great. I feel like
Okay.
parched, yeah.